2. Captain Marcus Lucivio scowled at the veil of fog that shrouded the galley, swallowing the sun in its clammy greyness. Where had it come from so suddenly? A cold wind had seemed to blow out of nowhere, as though an icy hand had touched him. For a moment he had felt dizzy. Then he realized the fog was forming. Now, even as he watched, the prow faded from sight. "Backwater," he commanded. His order was echoed below deck. The easy quarter-stroke he had called as the fog descended was replaced by the wash of blades digging into the water and slowing the ship. Gradually, the creak and groan of 110 oars in their rowlocks died away. At least we're well clear of the shore, Lucivio thought, as the slender Quincarene drifted to rest, rolling gently in the slight swell. Best wait it out. Quick come, quick go, as they say. With a rush and a swish of air, an object passed over the ship and splashed loudly into the water somewhere off the bow. There was a confusion of shouts and a clatter of feet as the Marines grabbed their weapons and stood ready, straining for sight or sound of an enemy. "Oarsmen ready," shouted Lucivio. But which way to steer? There was no sound now, bar the gentle slap of water along the hull. Surely they should hear any ship close enough to loose a catapult shot at them. And it would be a big craft, too, to bear a weapon capable of lofting a sizable shot like that sounded. "Captain! Captain! In the water!" The excited voice came from somewhere forward, its speaker lost in the greyness. Lucivio pounded up the long deck from his command position in the stern. Sullius was at the prow, leaning over the rail and pointing at something bobbing in the water at the edge of visibility. Lucivio strained to make out its form. It was clearly an artifact of some kind, but the silhouette fitted nothing he could readily call to mind. But if it was what they had heard flying past them, then it was like no shot from a catapult he had ever seen. He scanned the enveloping fog again, but there was still no sign of another vessel. "Get lines and hooks," Lucivio ordered, with a slightly forced lightness in his words. "Let's have a closer look at this strange prize Father Neptune has given us." Even as the crew grappled for the peculiar object, Lucivio realized the pale orange ball of the sun was showing through the fog, brightening even as he watched. Within minutes, blue sky showed through the clearing air. The object grated against the ship's side, sparkling and glittering as the fresh sunlight caught its intricately fashioned surfaces. Now Lucivio was certain. He had never seen anything like it in his life. The year turned. In the ports of southern Arabia, they waited for the expected return of the traders who had set sail for the west coast of India the year before, taking advantage of the favourable winds. They waited for cargoes of silk and ivory, spices and gems, pearls and tortoise-shell. For a month beyond their expected return, nothing was heard of them, and there was talk of pirates or storms at sea. Then one ship did arrive, manned by a half-crazed crew, telling a horrific, impossible story. Slowly, the rumour filtered north and west to Alexandria and the Roman lands. But little attention was paid to it. They had more immediate preoccupations. "There's going to be a big battle," Alexander Helios informed his sister, with the absolute certainty only an 8-year-old can command. He threw a pebble at his exquisitely fashioned model galley, floating in the ornamental pool, capsizing it in a satisfactory manner. Servants stood silently around the colonnaded perimeter of the palace courtyard, keeping watch on the royal children as they played. Cleopatra Selene looked up from the patterns she was drawing in her sand tray. "How do you know?" she responded, with inherent inter-sibling suspicion.
I heard Father talking to Caesarion about it. A big battle at sea between us and Octavian and his Romans, but we're going to win, because the Oracle told them so.
Has Caesarion seen the Oracle?
Suppose so.
Well, that's not fair. He's our brother. Why can't we see it if he can? He's only half our brother, and he's lots older than us, Alexander suggested. Selene was silent for a moment, contemplating the vast gulf of 7 years that separated them. Anyway, it's still not fair. Mother and father and Caesarion and all those soldiers seeing the Oracle. Why not us?
And metalsmiths and shipbuilders, added Alexander.
What?
They've seen the Oracle too.
They're just common. We're divine, Mother said so. How can they see it when we can't?
I saw them, being taken down the long hall to the special room. I asked Tutor if they were being taken to feed the crocodiles, and he told me. Then he looked really worried and said it was all a secret and wouldn't say any more.
Could have ordered him. He's only a slave. Could have had him fed to the crocodiles.
Could I?
Course. You can do that if you're divine. She paused thoughtfully for a moment, then added, Probably have to ask Mother first.
Can't we ask Mother if we can see the Oracle?
She'll just say we're too young, or it was only for men to see, or something.
But Mother sees it.
Course, she's the Queen. She can do anything. Alexander considered the implications.
Is Caesarion a man now, then?
Probably. He says we should call him Ptolemy Caesar now. I don't think he likes being called Caesarion anymore.
Is he divine too?
Maybe he's half divine.
Silly, can't be half divine.
How do you know? Maybe you can. Alexander hesitated, unsure of this theological grey area. He retreated to safer ground.
But we're all divine, aren't we?
Oh, yes.
So one day we'll be king and queen and rule everything. Then we'll have the Oracle all to ourselves,
he finished triumphantly. But Caesarion will be there first because he's older.
Well, we'll just have to take it from him, won't we?
The sea was littered with the debris of battle. Shattered oars, loose timbers, dead and dying men. The hulks of 24 ships were fast foundering, their upper decks ablaze. Sad relics rapidly falling behind as the battle line shifted north, chasing the remains of Agrippa and Octavian's retreating, decimated fleet. Captain Lucivio scanned the lines, counting the ships of his own special squadron. By the gods, they had all survived. A handful of craft, but they had turned the battle in their favour, and no mistake. Just the sight of them must have loosened Octavian's bowels. He knew he had trembled himself when they first fired up the thing, but it had worked. They had cut through the lines before they knew they were on them, then made so much confusion that half the enemy ships were broadside on when the rest of the fleet arrived and sitting targets for ramming. Lucivio gazed fondly, and with not a little awe, at the large, hissing, rumbling boiler mounted on the deck, at the plume of smoke billowing from its tall chimney, and at the pumping pistons that turned the twin paddle wheels. Not an oar in sight, and better speed than a crew of the strongest rowers could equal. And he could keep it up as long as he had fuel to burn. One of the ship's new cannons boomed from the prow, and the shot splashed among the retreating craft. "Hold your fire until we're closer," he bellowed above the pounding of the engine. "Full steam," he ordered the valveman. The ship, a quinquereme in name only now, surged forward, carrying Captain Marcus Lucivio, commander of the 1st Steam Squadron of the Romano-Egyptian Navy, into a new future.